What's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of Index Card Insights. I am Cam Jennings, coming at you on behalf of EpicConversions.com. This is Index Card Insights. Welcome to episode number 10. We're counting down from episode insights. So we've actually, yes, that's right, we've actually done 90 episodes of Index Card Insights. We're counting down from episode 100. We're counting down to episode 1. And in episode 1, I'm going to talk to you about what I've learned doing 100 episodes of Index Card Insights. But for now, we're on episode 10. We've counted down from 100. What are we talking about today? Well, I'm going to tell you. We're talking about expectations. We're talking about expectations, how you can set expectations, how you can control expectations, and how powerful expectations can be. Now, before I get into that, I just want to remind everybody, get over to EpicConversions.com, grab your free copy of 12 Secrets. That's 12 mind-blowing reveals on artificial intelligence. That report comes with a giveaway license, so make sure you get over there, get your free copy. That's at EpicConversions.com, EpicConversions.com, EpicConversions.com. Get your free copy. Now, what about expectations? So this is really a cool lesson that you can take advantage of as soon as today. But in order for me to explain it to you with expectations, I need to tell you a story about the Smashing Pumpkins. This rock band called the Smashing Pumpkins. You know, they're kind of a grunge rock, prog rock, whatever. They're a rock and roll band. I'm not going to get into the specifics of what kind of rock and roll they are, but they originated in the 90s and kind of came out of Chicago. But I was a big fan of the Smashing Pumpkins. Now, the first record was called Gish, right? And then there was another record they came out with called Siamese Dream. And Siamese Dream was really popular. Now, Gish and Siamese Dream, these two records, they were really heavily guitar driven. These were guitar records, you know? And like, in my opinion, like, the lyrics came secondary. You know, you're listening to these records and they got like muscle behind them. You know what I mean? They got muscle behind them. You know, and Billy Corgan, he's kind of got this interesting, unique, kind of whiny, kind of growly voice. But it doesn't really take center stage in Gish and Siamese Dream. It kind of supports the guitars and it supports the drums, because the drums are fantastic in my opinion. The bass playing's great. The drums are great. The guitars they take center stage. They really do. And like, this is kind of like the identity of the Smashing Pumpkins. You know what I mean? And Siamese Dream comes out. I think with Gish, they had a following. You know, people liked the record. And then Siamese Dream came out, and it was like really good. And Siamese Dream, you know, MTV was playing their music video. It was called Today. And Today was kind of a rock ballad, you know, it was kind of a power ballad almost. And people loved it, you know, people loved that song. And it was, I just don't think it was necessarily lyrically driven, you know. Everybody remembers today was the greatest day I've ever known. But that's, people don't really know what the lyrics were about or what they really meant. But it was rock and roll, man. It was rock. It was a power ballad. And then if you listen to Siamese Dream, it had Cherub Rock on it, right? And Cherub Rock was, again, it was da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It was very rock and roll, you know. This was guitar-driven rock. And I don't know if anyone really knew what the hell Billy Corgan was talking about in Cherub Rock. Hummer was another song on Siamese Dream that was really heavy guitars, guitar rock. This was heavy rock music, you know. It wasn't like metal, but it was heavy rock, you know, and it was alternative rock, and people loved it. And excuse me, the point is, the guitar playing and the music really, really controlled the identity of the Smashing Pumpkins in that era of the band. And then they came out with Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, right? They were at the height of their popularity. Siamese Dream was a big record. Everyone was paying attention to them. And then they dropped Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. This was a double album, okay? And you would have had to have been there. But in the late 90s, this was the late 90s when this happened. And if you would have had to have been there, and if you weren't there, you weren't there. You wouldn't know. But if you were there, you would know that Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness came out at a time where rock music was at the height of its popularity. People loved rock music in the late 90s, and people loved alternative rock in the late 90s. There was a void, Nirvana was gone, and there was a void there, and there was a lot of rock bands. And Siamese Dream and then Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness came out at a time where people just were really, really ready for it. And it was really great. And Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness is where things shifted a little bit with Smashing Pumpkins. They were still heavily defined by their guitar rock sound, but I think people started paying attention to the lyrics a little bit more with Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. People can quote more of those lyrics than they ever could from Siamese Dream or they ever could from Gish. They can quote those lyrics. That's where the lyrics started to take center stage with Smashing Pumpkins and Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. But what you have to understand is that even though the lyrics started to take more of a center stage with that band, the band was still heavily defined by the sound. It wasn't just the lyrics, it was the sound, the whole entire sound. It sounded like the Smashing Pumpkins. Now, let's flash forward to today, right? 2023. Years after all that happened, right? Because Smashing Pumpkins went on to release several more records between Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness and 2023 here today. Most of those records I do not like. They suffer from an identity crisis, is what I would say. If you were to ask me what I think of those records, I would say they sound like Billy Corgan's solo records. That's the lead singer and guitar player for the Smashing Pumpkins. A lot of those records sound like Billy Corgan solo projects. They don't sound like the Smashing Pumpkins. It just doesn't sound the same. So what I'm telling you is, and that goes all the way to 2023 here. They just came out with a new one called, I'm going to call it Atum. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's called Atum, A-T-U-M. Atum, whatever the hell it is. I don't know. When I got that record, I picked it up and I said, okay, this is a 3-record album, right? This record has 3 records of music in it. It's a triple album called Atum from the Smashing Pumpkins. And I'm looking at it and I'm looking through the book, I'm looking through the book and I'm thinking, this is feeling really arty, it's feeling really artsy. And like, that's Corgan, Corgan has this ability, he has this kind of thing where sometimes he can take it a little too artsy, right? And I'll tell you what, the best way I can describe it to you, especially if you don't really care about rock music, you don't care about any of the stuff I'm talking about, just keep in mind I'm going to bring this back to marketing, but you have to stick with me for it, okay? Now listen, the best way I can describe it is this. Have you ever been to an art museum, okay? Most people have probably been to an art museum at least once in their life. Well, if you've been to an art museum, now, I don't know about you, but when I go to an art museum, I don't have any expectations. I have an open mind. I know I'm getting ready to see a bunch of interesting stuff, right? Some of it I'm probably not going to get. Some of it I might get. Some of it I might like. But I have a very open mind because I don't really have any expectations for what I'm going to see inside the art museum. We're going to look at interesting stuff. We don't know what it's going to be. That's an art museum. So sometimes, for me, over these past it's been a decade now, since after Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness came out, since they lost their bass player, all the Smashing Pumpkins records that came out since then have been like walking through an art museum for me. It's like I have very little expectations for what I'm going to get into because I don't know what it's going to be when it comes to the Smashing Pumpkins. It could be good and it could be not good. What I have found is it's very usually unbalanced. It's not balanced, man. They don't have the same identity. The identity is not, it's like an identity crisis or something. It's like, this doesn't sound like the Smashing Pumpkins. It's like sometimes it sounds sort of like the Smashing Pumpkins. And then other times, I don't know what I'm listening to. It's like some kind of weird art piece or something. The musical sonic version of walking through an art museum and like not understanding exactly what you're looking at. And you're just like, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to move on. Like, it's like that, you know? So I'm listening to this Adam CD, and I'm actually on CD 3 right now. And CD 3 and CD 2 and CD 1, all these CDs, I'm trying to give it a really good listen because I'm a music lover. And, you know, I have really enjoyed Smashing Pumpkins music in the past, and I'm trying to give it a good listen. And you know, as someone who's recorded music myself, you know, I don't feel like it's fair to take something that someone probably spent a lot of time on and just give it, like, listen to like 2 or 3 songs and like just be done with it. Even though I recognize that's what most people do with music. If they don't like a couple of songs, they're done with it. You know, people just don't have the time to mess with it. I don't usually do that. I'll usually try to listen to the whole thing and at least give it an actual listen and form some kind of informed opinion about it, right? But I will tell you this. I have listened to pretty much all the Smashing Pumpkins records. I am a fan, but I'm a fan because of Gish. I'm a fan because of Siamese Dream, and I'm a fan because of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Right? I went to see Smashing Pumpkins in 1998 when they were on tour for Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. They played for 4 hours in Pensacola, Florida. And, you know, they were awesome. They rocked. But, you know, what I'm listening to now from Adam, it's not the same thing, you know? And I understand that they can't be the same band they were from the 90s. It's not the same thing. They're 20 years older. It's different, right? I get that. But what I will say is I think fans have expectations. That's what I think. I think fans have expectations. And while it might not be easy to control expectations when you're an artist, when you're a musical act, or while you're a band, what I want you to understand is that everybody has expectations for pretty much most things they deal with, especially if they've dealt with it before. So if you're someone out there and you've sent emails to people before, right? And people have gotten several emails from you, and like they have kind of an expectation for what your emails are going to be, you know? If you're someone out there and you sell digital products on the internet, and people have bought several of your digital products before, they have an expectation of what your digital products are going to be. If you're someone out there who sells physical products or newsletters, you know, people who have bought your stuff before, like, they have a expectation of what your product's going to be. And, you know, you hear people a lot of times, like bands especially, you hear them talking about shattering expectations and completely denying expectations, or transcending expectations and stuff like that. And I always laugh at stuff like that because the truth is, you don't rise above expectations. Like your fans, your customers, they have expectations. And what happens is if you don't meet their expectations, you didn't rise above their expectations. You didn't shatter their expectations. You didn't deny their expectations. You just failed to meet their expectations. You disappointed them. That's what happened. Now, when I listen to Adam, I listen to 3 records of music that's somewhat it's disappointing to me. It's somewhat disappointing to me. There's not enough of that old Smashing Pumpkins in there. It sounds like a Billy Corgan solo project. 3 records worth of Billy Corgan solo project. Not enough of Smashing Pumpkins and what makes them the Smashing Pumpkins, right? So, like, to me, if you're out there and you're running an online business, okay, I think it's important to consider expectations. I don't think it's good to put something out there, something new out there, and not think about the expectations of your customers, not think about what those expectations are. The good news is when you go to put something new out there, right, you have the ability to control expectations. You control that narrative. You know, what are people going to expect when you put out a new product? You tell them what to expect. You tell them exactly what it's going to be. You control that narrative of what their expectations are, right? Now, you of course, are subject to your past. You're subject to your past. They're going to have some idea about what you're putting out based on stuff you put out in the past. But as far as like what you're going to be talking about in there, and as far as like what problems you're going to solve in there, and as far as like what the product's going to be like, man, you control that narrative with your marketing, right? But I think it's like a good idea to think about it. Think about customer expectations. Think about the different aspects of what a customer might expect when they buy something of yours, because those are things you can talk about in your marketing, right? You can talk about aspects of customer support. You can talk about like how the product's going to be delivered. You can talk about what kinds of problems are going to get solved. You can future pace. You can do all this stuff to kind of like build expectation for your product. And then when you deliver it and you meet all those expectations, you're going to have happy customers, right? You're not going to be like me picking up Adam and being like, what the F is all this crap? This don't sound like the Smashing Pumpkins. Thanks a lot, Billy Corgan. I just feel like I went sonically through like the Abstract Art Museum or something. Thanks a lot. Anyways, look, it's expectations. You don't hear a lot of people talking about that, but I guarantee you, your customers are thinking about it, right? Think about how you handle your purchases. Think about the digital products you've bought in the past. Think about the physical products you bought in the past. When you bought it, did you have an expectation when you took it home? When you bought something through the mail, did you have an expectation while you were waiting on it to arrive? Of course you did. Now, when that product arrives, it's either going to meet your expectations, it's going to exceed your expectations, or it's not going to meet your expectations. And at that point, you're going to be disappointed. So what I'm telling you is, as someone who is having an online business and controlling that, someone who is having an online business and is, managing expectations, you control that, man. That's your narrative to control. Anyways, that's all I got. Hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Let me know what you're thinking out there. Be sure to get over to Epic Conversions. Get your free copy of 12 Secrets. That's at epicconversions.com. And I'll see you on the next episode of Index Card Insights. Peace now.